Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Mia Kontnik, the founder of Career Coach Mia. Mia works with entrepreneurs and businesses to help them build... No, that's the wrong person, I believe. One second, I'm going to cut this out because I think I've completely messed up my intro. Apologies. I'm going to cut it short because I was just rereading it. I think I'd done the research on the wrong person. So I'm going to cut it short and we can just dive straight into it if you're happy to do so, and we can just take it. Yeah? Okay, cool.
That sounds good.
Run through that bit again. Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Mia Kontnik, the founder of Career Coach Mia. Mia will be sharing more about her founding journey and giving us a glimpse into plans for future growth. Mia, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Hi, Olivia. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you here, and I'm such a pleasure to be speaking with you. Now, Mia, I'm very much excited as well to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you jumped into the coaching world, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Absolutely. So my career journey started in education. I did tutoring, worked with beginning readers on literacy, and worked as an environmental educator. I loved learning. I loved seeing, concepts click for people, and I loved that one-on-one empowerment. However, I realized I was not going to make a career of one-on-one tutoring. So I took a pivot and went to law school. I worked in juvenile justice and wound up finding myself working in the child welfare system. While that is incredibly important work, it kind of it was so difficult. It showed me that boundaries are one of those areas where I needed to do a lot of personal and professional work. So I started working in policy. I worked in mental health policy, access to justice, ensuring that, Coloradans here in the United States had access to a lawyer when they had a legal issue. And then a position opened up at my law school to be a career counselor. And I thought, wow, this is just the perfect blend of my education career and my legal career. So I worked there for about 3 years with law students and early career lawyers. It really brought up a lot of the stuff I had loved about being an educator. Again, kind of working with these, motivated, amazing young people, and seeing kind of the future start to lay out in front of them. And so, I thought, hey, this might be something I want to do on my own. So I founded Career Coach Mia. It's hard going out on your own, but it's also really amazing having some ownership around it. Now I work primarily with Gen Z millennial women. So some are still in that, early career phase, but a lot of my clients are also kind of in this transition period. And I love, again, empowering them through, these huge changes in their life.
I love that. I bet it does feel, as you say, with such like fulfillment at the end of the day. And I like the transition. Obviously, working within juvenile system, it's a very heavy salad, is the way I describe that. As you say, like you must have learned a lot, as you say, putting your own boundaries in place and really working very closely in that kind of environment. You do take on a lot of people's, struggles and issues as well. So it's yeah, I understand exactly what you mean, but putting all that knowledge to good use and now obviously helping people in the same aspect, I feel like they do correlate very well, especially tutoring, teaching, and coaching. Naturally you're always educating other people and educating yourself. There's no better form of learning than teaching. So that's a really, really cool aspect. And then just diving into a little bit about your ICP as well. I feel like there's so many people that can relate to you within that age group. The Gen Z to millennials going through career changes is such a big topic at the moment. So I love that you're kind of working to provide them with a lot of clarity moving forward, because the world is changing very quickly around us and there's not a lot of people kind of helping us along that journey. So that's really cool. And I suppose, Mia, I know it's hard to be a founder, but did you ever kind of see or envision that for yourself in your own journey, or was that just something that naturally developed as you knew you had to kind of take those steps for yourself?
Yeah, Olivia, that's a great question. I'm not sure that I like particularly envision that, but if I'm reflecting, kind of back to some of the things I work on with my clients, like it really makes sense. I'm someone who thrives with a little bit of freedom. While I like structure, I also like the ability to be creative, to explore my interests. And again, this continues to let me help people. So I'm not sure this is what I envisioned. But I think it's like it makes sense as the next step in
Yeah.
my own career journey. So yeah, really, really happy to be here. And like you said, I am learning so much like every day. So that's kind of cool and kind of overwhelming sometimes as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, you do get that catch-22 as being a founder. You are forever learning. Like you'll always be learning no matter what, but it can be hard work. And as you say, sometimes even without that structure in place, it can be hard to get on and do things. So just kind of creating those boundaries for yourself again, it is a really cool aspect moving into it. But I love that you kind of found something that suits your journey at the moment, and hopefully you can blossom into that moving forward. So Mia, let's dive into career coach Mia a little bit more, just so that the listeners can have some context moving forward. Now, I know you mentioned there you mainly like to work with women, obviously Gen Z, millennial, but who would you say like is your ideal client? Like, who is it that if you could pick them out of a hat, like what would they look like? And then from there, how would you
Yeah,
help them? Oh, sorry. How is it you help them, and how would you support them along their own journey? It's a bit of a loaded question. Sorry.
yeah. I'll take that in pieces. So, my ideal client would be a woman, highly motivated in her career, kind of in the messy middle, right? So that may be graduated college or law school or whatever and trying to figure out what next. Or maybe that's, 5 to 10 years of experience, but feeling like, hey, this is not my calling. I don't get a lot of meaning out of my career. So I think that's who I'm looking for is, someone who's really wanting to find the next level in their career, but maybe feeling a little bit stuck and just needs some
Yeah.
support, kind of getting to the next stage. With that, I have lost a second thread of your
You're
question.
good.
So can you
We can come
share
back to
that
that, yeah.
again?
No worries, we can come back to that. Yeah, but I say I mentioned a moment ago, I love the ICP, and as you say, you're very much meeting them at both ends. So whether they're kind of started that career journey, they're going through it and realize it might not be suited for them, which I think a lot of people kind of realizing in the world at the moment, or even fresh out of college or university, again, there's a lot of speculation in the world as to why we're even going to university and college in the first place. So if naturally for that career, if it doesn't suit them after they've graduated, there can be a lot of mindset work that's going with that as well. So what is it like to work with you then, Mia? So how is it you support them, and what is your style of coaching?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think of my coaching kind of being bookended by reflection, right? I think that that reflective element is the most powerful thing I bring as a coach. So when I start with a new client, I like to start kind of with reflection around what are your strengths, what are your values, and what are your needs. The reason that I look at those three things, strengths are what make us happy at work, right? If you are working in a space and everything's challenging, you're not really making progress, that is a recipe for burnout. That is a recipe for frustration. And so I think it's really important that people take some time to think about what am I good at? We feel good when we're doing well, when we're doing those things that we can really thrive at. So that is one of those starting blocks. The next one is values, and this is a little bit more long term. I think most of us can work in a system that doesn't really align with our personal beliefs for some amount of time,
Yeah.
but eventually you really need that values alignment to feel purpose and meaning in a job. And so I work with my clients to really address what those are. I think one
Mm,
thing that's interesting there, especially because I work with people kind of in a transition, is that values change, right? You may have a set of like 5, 10 core values, and three of them are going to be really important at one point in your life, but others may be more important at another point in your life. So, I think values is a place that we really spend some time. What are your most important values right now? And is the role you're in, is the organization you're in really aligning with those values? The other thing we have to talk about, and I don't think enough career coaches talk about, is needs, right? We need money. If you have a family, you need to be able to support your family. I do not have kids, but I have a dog and I need to support my dog's lifestyle. I'm kind of being silly there, but needs are actually what drive, work in a very real sense. And so I spend time with clients thinking both about those really obvious needs, like financial, but other needs that I think really need to be met for us to be happy in work. So here I'm talking about things like recognition. How do you like to be recognized when you do a good job? For some people, they're like, just give me that money, but for others, they really want to hear, hey, you've done great work and I appreciate you. Um, One that came up for me in my own career was I need a quiet place to work. I've worked in cubicles and I lose my mind. Like I'm listening to everybody else's conversation and getting no work done. And so I do like to work through, some level of needs with my clients so that they really understand what matters for them.
Beautiful.
From there, I think we get into the more traditional aspects. I always like to jump into job descriptions so that you can kind of do that matching. Does this align with my values? Does this align with my needs? Are my strengths really going to come into play with that? Application materials are critical. So resumes, cover letters, especially with some of my early career clients, we'll talk about references and just those basic pieces that you need to apply for a job. Um, from there, we go into what do you need in this job market, right? Because the job market has changed so much. And that includes things like networking, understanding like the hidden job market, that not everything's posted on LinkedIn or Indeed, or whatever job sites you're looking on. Upskilling, I think you said earlier, Olivia, like, is university the right fit for everybody? Not necessarily, but maybe some certificate or some other type of training would be a really good idea for a particular candidate. So those things, I think they vary based on like where people are at, but they're really important to talk about. And it's so fun, talking with you today, because interviewing is also a huge part of what I think I can help clients with. And this, may sound bizarre, but I actually think interview prep is one of the funnest things. And the reason is because everybody can get better at it, right? There's some things that are out of our control, but, speaking with people, having a conversation, answering questions, it's something you can improve on just by practicing, developing self-awareness. And so that's really fun to see. And then I said, I like to bookend my work with reflection. It doesn't always happen, but I encourage my clients to come back and talk to me after they've been in their new role for some, 3 months, 6 months, whatever makes sense. And that's so that we continue to think about their entire career trajectory. Most of us work for decades, right? And so
Yeah.
this job, this role is not the end, it is in many cases just the beginning for my clients.
Yeah, I love that. I love the journey you're taking them on, and you're taking it on such like a 360 approach, as you say, like looking into everything, the alignment, their values, the needs that they need, like the needs that they need, the needs that they've got as well moving forward. And like just to put myself as an example, like for all of those three stages, like it's so much easier said than done. Now we're sitting here. Like I think if you ask me again at the start, like what are you looking for? I don't know. What have you skills have you got? I don't know. Let's lean into that. So there is such a like a mindset unlock as well on that way through, and then taking it from there. And as you say, people don't even consider that stuff when they are looking for a job. I think that was my point coming out of like university. Again for me, I did a degree I've never used because it's a sense of it didn't suit the career I actually wanted at the end of it. It just suited what I was doing at the time. And as you say, as people grow, like your values change in anything, whether it's a relationship, a career, even a hobby. Things do develop as you get older. So it's nice that you're realigning them throughout their own journey. And then having that check in as well once they've got the job, just to make sure, is this actually what you wanted? Like, are we still good? Are we still on that same path? Because as you say, you spend so much time of your work, you need to be enjoying it and it needs to be fulfilling and it needs to be rewarding as well, which is so important. Another thing you touched on, which I really enjoyed, was obviously taking into consideration the differences in people. You know, how other people learn, how other people need value, how other people need to be in a job placement. I myself, exactly the same. I need to be in a quiet room, or if not, I need to have headphones in because I'm not going to get anything done. So allowing me to do that in my workplace is so important. And then other people do need outside validation, so making sure they've got a manager that is very communicative with them and very like appraising to their work. Some people need to be left alone and just can need a thumbs up every month. So I love that you're doing like such in depth. You're very in the trenches with your clients, which is a really cool aspect. One thing I'm very curious to find out because naturally it's a very busy world at the moment, and there's a lot of noise, especially within your space, with people coming into it. So how do you go about like marketing yourself? So like in terms of acquiring your customers, like what channels or methods are you just finding most effective at the moment, Mia?
Yeah, so I'm definitely, I remind myself, like I'm taking a slow grow approach.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of like organic marketing. Since I'm a career coach, LinkedIn is absolutely like the space I thrive in. And right now I'm just really working on increasing visibility. So, I kind of get excited each time I see, some more followers and that's great. I think I'm sharing good material,
Nice.
good content, and people are responding to that. But kind of going to the slow grow approach, my very first client was a former coworker. My very second client was a former classmate. These are people who know me, who know my work product and know the value that I can bring to them. And that feels, I don't know, like that feels like an honor. I don't mean to be like over the top, but it really is so validating in that way that my community sees that I bring value. So I think that really is how I'm growing clients at the moment is, really word of mouth. And, I know my clients are happy with their results and will pass my name along. And so um, that is great, but it is a slow process. I have dabbled with like Instagram and TikTok, and I'm just not sure that those are the right spaces for career coaching. But I will say it's been really fun. I think I alluded to earlier. I like, some creative freedom. And so those
Yeah.
spaces, were fun to play around with.
No, they are, and I think it's nice. Obviously, yeah, the organic route is a slow burner, but I think it's nice that, as you say, people within your local network are trusting you. That just shows dividends to the work you are doing because they are your harshest critics. The ones that know you already are the ones that are going to judge you the most. So providing them with a good value, like, is all amazing. That's all you can hope for, and that trust at the end of the day is such an important piece of the work that you are doing. So that's really cool. So yeah, leaning into referrals, leaning into your network, and building it from there. Naturally, LinkedIn, I think, was already originally started as a job sharing site. As you mentioned at the start, people only still see it as a job sharing site. So leaning into that aspect, I would have thought TikTok is a weird audience. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a very hostile kind of cult following sometimes on TikTok. But Instagram, I would have thought would have done well, especially within the age group of the ICP that you have. So maybe dabbling into that a little bit more could kind of help you with that maybe consistency that you need in your lead flow. Do you run any form of ads or anything? Or is it literally, as you say, just providing that value with the content you're leaning with?
Yeah. At this point, I'm not running any ads. It's definitely something I've thought about. I appreciate what you said about Instagram. I'm remaining active on there, really trying to
Yeah.
like just show up, right? And so I think part of it for me was like my brand was not very consistent at first. I was, being creative and trying different things. So, I've got myself on a much stricter schedule now, and
Cool.
we're kind of gonna see if that leads to, more success. And I think ads may make sense, if I'm finding success after
Yeah.
being a little more consistent. So
Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, because ads do just add that kind of gasoline onto the fire. So as you say, when you build that consistency for yourself, just kind of enhancing what you're doing, I suppose, and reaching a different audience that don't already follow you, is just a great way to add
yeah,
on to it. But yeah, I think IG in your space is a great one. It's kind of an outside look as well because you're catching people. I don't want to say it, but obviously with marketing, it's about psychology, are like the most vulnerable part of their day. You know, they're not at work, they're
mhm,
not scrolling through LinkedIn for their personal stuff. So it's nice to kind of meet them in the moment when they are looking for something that's more aligning with them and their message. It's a really cool kind of
yeah.
you into it. And I suppose with all that being said, Mia, like what are your visions or your ambitions for the company moving forward when you think of maybe like the next 6 to 12 months ahead? Like what are those goals or those milestones that you're looking forward to achieving?
Yeah, yeah. So what I liked the most about TikTok was really like creating like short form videos. It was a good platform for that. Um
Cool.
and so I was like, okay, like where can we go with that, you know? And so I think that would be kind of the next step is to kind of build that out, kind of
Yeah.
create some courses so that my clients aren't just the one-on-ones. It's also people who, want to access the content. At their own rate, at the time that's right for them. So that's a big goal kind of coming up. And yeah, I think that's the main one. I have been thinking about, kind of some development of cohorts. I'm not sure that's like realistic in the next 12 months, but I do believe kind of the power of, being connected with peers as well as, coaching support
Yeah.
is absolutely just a multiplier, right? So I could see something like that down the road.
Yeah, cool stuff. And that's a nice goal to have obviously maybe a little bit further down the line. But I always feel like even a group offer and or a cohort workshop, whatever you want to call them, they all have that similar kind of feel. And as you say, it kind of brings that like tribal union to any offer. You know, they are leaning on support from people going through a very similar situation. Hopefully you can learn from them as well, build connections, relationships, and as you say, it just kind of brings that community aspect that everyone I think is looking for in the world at the moment. Just like finding some people that they can relate to. So that's really cool. And yeah, naturally courses just helping on that impact side of things. You can very much meet people there are that. They also get a taste of what it's like to work with you and be within your
Yeah.
ecosystem. And then hopefully if they're ready to take their next steps in the future, they know who to turn to at the end of the day. So that's a really cool aspect. And I suppose, Mia, where are you probably finding your biggest challenge within the business at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. I work with a lot of nonprofit clients, and so finding like pricing and payment strategies that make sense for my clients is a real struggle. I want my services to be accessible. And I've worked in nonprofit most of my career, so I really understand kind of the challenges. We're not paying nonprofit professionals enough, like I will just say it. So yeah, I've been, trying different payment strategies, so I honestly I don't know what the answer is yet, but I'm trying different things. And I think that's also where some of the videos, could make it more accessible to people where it's just like one-on-one coaching is not feasible. Or, maybe it's the videos and a limited number of sessions. So I'm really trying to figure out how to serve that population who I think could really benefit from services, but they're seeing a barrier to
Yeah.
entry.
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean, but as you say, it's that impact is what people are looking for, and obviously with a non-profit, it's really nice. You get a really lovely trickle-down effect with the impact you are having. But as you say, how do we kind of price that going about? Even maybe having the structure for two separate offers, just so you can build the business to impact the off like the non-profits even more is a really nice offset. And as you say, even just making those courses a little bit more accessible so you can hit the masses when they need to. I feel
Yeah.
that's quite a nice problem to have though, because you are still kind of you're aware of it and it's just finding out the solution to help both parties the best. But still
Yeah.
having the value as well, knowing it's a business for yourself is really important as well. And Mia, I have one final question to ask you. So, if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then,
Mhm.
what would you say to yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it would be about like trusting. I think I'm one of those people, and I see with my clients as well that there can be so much anxiety and so much tied up in, one decision. And the reality is like a life, a journey, like happens over the course of a million decisions. And so, yeah, I think it's kind of just trusting yourself, but also trusting that, down the road things will be different. So
I love that. It kind of took my brain is like, don't only worry about what you can control and you can't control the future. So as you say, trust that moment and lean into those spidey senses. Um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
definitely lean into the spidey senses.
Yeah.
I love
I love
that.
but Mia, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
LinkedIn is definitely the best way to reach out to me. So that's LinkedIn, and my sorry, let me pause, pull it up. It's like the one question I should know.
I think it's the one question most people stumble on because they read it every day.
Yeah,
They
right.
forget.
It's like, what am I? Okay.
It's funny, you never look at your own Instagram handle, ever.
Right, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So, um, um, yeah, and I feel like okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Should I just go for it?
Just say it, yeah, and we can cut it all together, no worries.
Okay. So the best place to reach out to me is LinkedIn, and that URL is www.linkedin.com/in/MANIHIMK. And then also reach out on Instagram at career coach / Mia.
Beautiful stuff. And Mia, thank you again. I really appreciate your time with me today. I had a really great conversation. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Career Coach Mia. As she said, drop a message on LinkedIn, drop a message on Instagram. I'm sure she'd love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we will see you on the next one.